so much. Awesome. Well, thank you. First, thank you, Kelly, for that introduction. Thank you, Dr. Bradfield, for reaching out and bringing me back home. I think I have mentioned to people before that anytime the J Fund reaches out to me and asks me to either donate my time, my money, it's a no-brainer for me. As Kelly said, I was involved with the J Fund from the very beginning. I think the J Fund got launched 1994, 1995, 96, somewhere in that range. 96, yeah, 96 was the first year, and that was when I was in the throes of in the midst of my cancer treatment, and so I got to grow up with the J Fund, and to now see that programs like Ch.A.T and then also combining with Live for Today to see how these programs have grown and expanded. It makes me choke up because just to see how the vision of the J Fund, Nemours and Wolfson, it really has been an amazing thing to watch from afar and to be part of in the very early days, at least. But yeah, like Kelly said, I lost my sight when I was 6 years old. My specific cancer is called bilateral sporadic retinoblastoma. It's a rare form of childhood eye cancer, and so I had cancer that attacked both of my retinas, and I was diagnosed with it when I was 10 months old. And so my family moved to Jacksonville when I was about a year and a half, 2 years old, and we pretty much immediately started going to Nemours, getting treated at Wolfson, and Caitlin was saying that Jolly was her child life specialist. Jolly was my child life specialist.
I'm at 110.
Not a day over 29, Jolly. You look the exact same as you did back in 1995. So as you guys heard, I went through 5 or 6 years of cancer treatment. A lot of you have gone through similar battles. I don't need to tell you how challenging and difficult that treatment is. Those hurdles. As a kid, all I wanted to do, I would tell my doctors, hey, I'm kind of tired of being sick. Can you just make me better so I can go outside and play with my friends? And they did everything they possibly could to allow me to do that. I pushed the envelope a lot. I was actually going through chemo treatment, and I decided that climbing on a television to try and put a VHS tape in a VHS player. Some of you may not remember what that is. But yeah, I'm showing my age now. But we had these VHS players, and my parents decided to put it on top of the television. Well, I guess I got my rock climbing start on the TV. So here I am going through cancer treatment, going through chemo, and I'm climbing on the television. I pull the TV down on myself. I break my leg in 3 or 4 places, and yeah. So that was a whole lot of fun, and my parents are very fond of telling the story that I had a cast all the way up to my hip, and here I am, a 3 or 4 year old kid, running through the halls of Nemours, tearing my cast to pieces, while again on chemo, radiation, all the fun stuff. But yeah, so eventually what happened to my eyesight was the cancer treatment itself was actually working, and every time we tried a different treatment, the cancer would start to go away, but then, you know, as we all know, cancer never sleeps, and so it kept fighting back and coming back. And so eventually what happened was my eyes were just so damaged from all the various treatments that I had gone through. I went through, I don't even know how many various experimental treatments, clinical trials, all kinds of stuff, radiation, chemo, cryo, thermo, you name it, I probably had it. And eventually what happened was my left eye was just so damaged from all the various treatments that it was useless. And so my parents made the decision that we had to remove my left eye. And so I had my left eye removed when I was 5 years old. And a year later, the same thing happened to my right eye. And I remember it was October 9th, 1998. I rolled into Wolfson's, and I went under, got put under with anesthesia, and my mom was my mom is a very amazing woman, raising all the kids that she did, and being there every minute of every day when I was going through treatment. And my mom was a very casually dressed person. She liked to be comfortable, so her standard hospital wearing was just sweatpants and a sweatshirt. But that particular morning, she decided that she was gonna put on her absolute best outfit. So she got dressed up to the nines, did her hair, makeup, everything, because she wanted my lasting memory of her to be at her best. So that was so I got to see my mom at her absolute most beautiful, at least on the outside. That particular day when I had my right eye removed, and that was awesome. But she didn't need to do that because I already knew that she was beautiful inside and out, and I tried to remember that in all of my dealings with everyone. So you don't need to, for me now especially, you don't need to be dressed up and impress me as long as you are a wonderful human being on the inside. So, but I woke up, 2 fake eyeballs, can't see a thing, and not, I think a lot of you can cast your minds back and you can think back to when you were 6 or 7 years old, and you can probably imagine it's a scary feeling, waking up and not being able to see anything. I had constantly asked my doctors, hey, can you just make me better so I can go outside and play? Well, now I don't have cancer anymore. How can I go outside and play? I can't see where I'm going. I can't see what I'm doing. And I was very fortunate that my family got connected with a gentleman who lived up in Amelia Island at the time, named Ed Weinmeyer. And Ed had a son named Eric Weinmeyer. And Eric happened to be totally blind and also happened to be an adventure athlete. And so Ed arranged for Eric to come to Jacksonville for a couple of speaking engagements, and so I got to meet I got to have my first interaction with an adult who was totally blind, an adult that could understand the feelings and the frustrations that I was going through. So I sat down with Eric, and he just asked me, what kind of stuff I like to do. And at the time, I was a big Chicago Bulls fan. My family was all originally from Chicago. I was a passionate Jacksonville Jaguars fan. Coach Coughlin was in the heyday of at that time of the Jaguars dominating the league, and so I loved sports. I loved playing basketball and football and soccer and all that stuff with my friends. But now I'm totally blind. I can't do any of that. Like how do I do anything? And my new buddy Eric said, Kyle, just because you can't see doesn't mean you can't live an incredible life and you can't have these great adventures. So I want you to go out and I want you to try rock climbing. And so, well, I figured, well, if this crazy blind guy can do it, why not me? So I decided to give it a shot. And so we had some family friends that were members of the local rock climbing gym here in Jacksonville. And so went to a climbing gym and absolutely fell in love with the process of climbing my way up a wall. Just being the monkey that I was always meant to be, essentially. And I remember I climbed up my first wall, climbing, and I get to the top, and I'm so stoked. I'm so excited. I'm ready to just like jump up and down for joy. But the problem is I'm like 30 feet up off the ground. So there's no jumping up and down for joy when you're 30 feet up in the air. So my family friend yells up to me and says, all right, Kyle, so this is how we get down. I want you to sit down in your harness, put your legs out in front of you, and jump. Crazy man was holding the rope, say, what? So I'm like, well, this guy must know what he's talking about. So I sit down, put my legs out in front of me, and jump, and he starts lowering me on the rope. And well, there's this thing I eventually learned in school later on that we have these things called physics, and gravity plays a really big role in physics. And well, I had short little stubby 8-year-old legs. My legs felt kind of heavy, and so I did the natural thing. I just let them fall. And in physics, you also have these things called pendulums, which swing back and forth, back and forth. They keep swinging back and forth until something interferes with them. My interfering something happened to be a rock climbing wall. So I learned very quickly how to pancake into a rock climbing wall. Eventually managed to figure out that you cannot let your legs drop when you're rappelling down a climbing wall. And so I eventually made it down, mostly in one piece, a little bruised up, a little battered. But climbing that first rock wall really opened my eyes to a way of life that I decided to embrace, and that was this idea of, look, just because I have these limitations of not being able to see, and look, not being able to see is a limitation. It makes life challenging, it makes life hard, but with the right people, the right systems in place, I could still live this incredible life and have this incredible, successful life, even as a blind guy. And so I fell in love with adventure sports. I went on, I actually was part of the first ever competitive rock climbing team that the Jacksonville Rock Gym put together in the early 2000s. So we traveled all over the state of Florida, competing at rock climbing competitions. Then my family, my entire family got into it, and we traveled all over the country, going to camping and rock climbing. We eventually got into downhill skiing, and just anything outdoors, we were involved in it. And so through all of my outdoor pursuits and adventures, I got partnered and connected with an organization called No Barriers. And this was an organization that my buddy Eric Weinmeyer had put together. And through No Barriers, Eric reached out to me and said, hey, I'm putting together this program to go to Peru. It partners blind and sighted teenagers together, and you guys are gonna go to Peru and hike the Nemours Trail into Machu Picchu. And so I was 14 years old. I know we've got a couple of young bucks in here that are 13, 14 years old. So at the age of 13, 14, I started regularly going to the gym and lifting weights, running on a treadmill, spending a lot of time on the elliptical, a lot of time on the stationary bike to get physically prepared for this 7-day hike from Cusco, Peru to Machu Picchu. And at the age of 14, was able to went on my first international hiking/climbing adventure in Peru. And by the end of that trip, I had formed such a bond with the other, I think there were like 17 or 18 of us that were a part of that trip. And we had formed such a bond through our shared experiences of blindness, of hardship, of hiking and coming together and helping each other out, that I wanted to keep on having those same experiences. And so I and a couple of other delinquents got together and we were like, hey, we want to do this again. Let's do something harder and let's do something bigger. Let's go climb Kilimanjaro next year. So at the age of 15, again, partnering with No Barriers, they recognized that we had this passion and this vision to continue on with our adventure pursuits. And so No Barriers helped us fundraise and put together the trip logistics, and we went and we climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. And for those of you that may not be aware, Mount Kilimanjaro is the tallest mountain in Africa. So it's just over 19,000 feet. It took us about 5 or 6 days to climb, and I was one of four kids that were blind or vision impaired that did that trip, and we had 8 or 9 sighted teenagers as well, all from our original trip to Peru. And once again, we have this community, this group of people that we're connected with, and we are feeding off of each other's inspiration. We're inspiring each other. We're giving each other motivation. And to me, inspiration and motivation go hand in hand. They're a little different. To me, inspiration is this thing that it's a spark. It's something that makes you think or feel different, and it gives you a calling. And then our motivation is our reason to move. That's the literal. If you break motivation out, it literally translates to a reason to move. And I was beginning to find inspiration and motivation in every which way I turned. And I think a lot of what the J Fund, what Nemours and Wolfson's, Live First Day, you guys are doing the same exact thing. You're providing inspiration, motivation, bringing community together, and you're doing the exact same thing that my climbing partners and I were doing as I was growing up, as a teenager. So what do you do after 15 years old and you've already national television? I was already doing a lot of public speaking at that point as well. And like I said, I was an arrogant kid. I was 21 years old. I was hot stuff. I mean, I was good looking. I was fit. I was in shape. I was a man on a mission. I was going to be a successful CEO, businessman. I was, I was like, I'm gonna run the J Fund at some point. I was coming for Kelly's job. And so I graduated from UCF, and I figured I'll just apply for every job, CEO and above. And because I'm 21-year-old, definitely CEO material. So I start, just sending out my application everywhere and not hearing anything back. So I start climbing my way down the corporate ladder. So I'm like, mid-level manager. No brainer, come on. Again, another few months go by, no responses. So I just continue climbing my way down, mid-senior level manager, mid-level, entry level. Eventually, I look up and a year had passed, and I was not in a good spot. I had graduated from college with no student debt, with no debt whatsoever. My parents had set me up pretty decently well financially, so I graduated with all of the perks, with not a whole lot of hardship, and I threw it all away. I was pretty deep in credit card debt. I was turning a lot more to alcohol to dull the pain and frustration of not being employed. And I started blaming the world. And so the final straw came when I was living in Orlando at the time, and I decided I need to just get a job, anything that'll put at least a penny or two in my pocket. And so I walked into a grocery store and applied to be a bag boy. And a couple days later, they informed me that they had gone with another candidate. So when you're at your lowest point, is if you choose to keep your eyes open and spot opportunities, at our lowest point is when opportunity shines. And for some crazy reason, I decided to do the one thing that I had always just despised, and that was running. I cannot tell you how much I hated running. Running for me as a kid was punishment. My dad would regularly, if we misbehaved as kids, he would make us run laps around the outside of the house. At wrestling practice, if you messed up, it was running laps around the mat or around the track. I despised running. It was a punishment. And so initially, I think I was just like, I'm a screw up. I'm messed up. I need to just punish myself. And the way I know how to do that is run. But here I am, a 22-year-old blind guy at this point. So how does a blind guy run? So, fortunately, the internet was readily available to me. So I started Googling around. I was able to find out how blind people can run and do run. And I got connected with a website that partnered blind and sighted runners together. And so I reached out to a couple of people in the Orlando area that were on this website that were willing to be eyes for a blind person. And I think one of them responded. And at this point, I was like, well, beggars can't be choosers. So I went and met up with this guy. He was an ER doctor. He was at that time he was a 9 or 10 time Ironman triathlete. He was training to compete at the Hawaii Ironman in Kailua Kona, Hawaii. So this guy was like a big deal, and I was very intimidated. This guy I thought was just uber fast and just ridiculous, ridiculous athlete. And I was like, I can't compare to this guy. I'm just humbled and grateful that he's willing to drag my sorry butt around this lake for, maybe 30 minutes or so. And that guy that I met up with, like I said, ER doctor. What he didn't tell me though was he had no clue what he was doing either. And we were just like, all right, we don't know how this is gonna work, but let's do this. And so we started running together. And I think he looks up the road a little bit and he says to himself, I wonder if I should tell Kyle about that pole that's coming up. And as he's thinking about this, we approached the pole a little faster than he anticipated. And you can imagine what happened. I crashed into the pole in a certain, the pole landed in a certain tender spot. I wound up rolling on the ground, clutching certain sensitive body parts, and just wondering what in the world I had gotten myself into. But again, the pain of running into that pole paled in comparison to the pain of me feeling like a failure. And so I got up, dusted myself off, and we finished the run. And that guy wound up becoming one of my best friends and a huge mentor for me. For some reason, he started trying to tell me that running really was terrible. He's like, dude, why do you want to run? You don't want to run. You want to do triathlon. And here I am thinking, I don't know any better. I'm like, triathlon. If running is bad, why would we add a swim and a bike? That sounds awful. Sure, let's sign up for it. And I barely knew how to swim, so my buddy Mike took me to a pool, taught me how to swim proper freestyle swim technique, and we got a hold of my tandem bike, and that was an adventure learning to ride. And we did sign up for some triathlons. We did some sprint triathlons and stepped up to Olympic distance triathlon, and then some half Ironmans, and then we eventually stepped up to the Ironman distance. Which for those of you that don't know, Ironman triathlon consists of a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile run. Yes, back to back to back, all in the same day, one after the other, and you have to do it in under 17 hours. And so for some reason, I decided my first Ironman was going to be in Boulder, Colorado. So just over 5,000 feet of elevation. I was living and training in Orlando, Florida at the time. For some reason, I like to take big bites, and I don't like to chew my food, apparently. When it comes to triathlon or a public burger or anything along those lines. So Mike and I traveled out to Boulder, Colorado, and got through the swim all right. We battled our way through the bike. Apparently, Colorado is known for having a lot of hills. Apparently, it gets really hot there in the summertime. And then we get to the run, and I had run a couple of marathons at this point, but I had never run a marathon off the bike. And one of my old climbing partners and his wife and kids were there cheering me on. My family was there cheering me on. The crowd at an Ironman is just incredible. They're super lively. It's basically just a big party. And I get off the bike and I start to run, and I am just feeling totally jazzed up and stoked. I make it about a mile, and our plan was to take little walk breaks between little running stints. Well, I started walking, and I don't think I stopped walking for the next 25 miles. So ran the first mile, walked the next 25, and then magically, it's now dark outside. It's about 10 o'clock at night. I've got about an hour left until the cutoff, and I finally get to the final finisher chute, which is about 400 meters long. It's just about a quarter mile, and I break into what I think is a sprint, charging down. I'm living my moment, and well, it turns out it was really just kind of a shuffle. I was shuffling worse than when I got up after that encounter with the pole on my very first run with Mike. So my legs, my body was just totally destroyed. But I crossed the finish line of my first Ironman within a time in just under 16 hours, and my body was just absolutely wrecked. And I swore up and down, never again. 2 weeks later, I was signed up for another one. So a year later, I finished Ironman Boulder, and at this point, I will say I did land a job. I wound up working for a nonprofit organization in Orlando called Lighthouse Central Florida, and then during an event that the Department of the Navy came through our organization on a tour, and for some reason they liked my I don't know if they liked my hairdo that day, if they liked my smile or what. Come to find out later, the person that came through on the tour was just a dog lover and saw that I had a beautiful golden retriever at the time, and so they went to the CEO of that nonprofit organization and said, "Hey, we want to hire that dude at the front desk that you got working. What's his name? Lyle, Denial, whatever his name is." So I got hired by the Department of the Navy and went and worked in corporate operations for a small division of the Navy down in Orlando called the Naval Air Warfare Center Training Systems Division. Basically, I got to push a lot of paper around, had a really fancy title, got paid a lot of money, and I was really bored. Even though I was getting to interact with with people that I admired, and I was getting to play with some pretty cool technology, flight simulators, helicopter simulators, tank simulators. I was getting to play with some really cool stuff, and but I was struggling again. I had gone through a rough time in my personal life, and wound up just deciding that I needed to change. And so my parents had recently moved to Colorado. I called up my mom and dad, and I said, "Hey, you guys got a spare bedroom on that ranch that you just bought?" And my dad said, "Yep, here's your rent is this, and this, and yeah, you can move in anytime." And so I quit my job at the Navy, picked up and moved out to Colorado, and just started to kind of put my life back together. And that involved a lot of training. I was obsessed with triathlon at this point. I set up a bike trainer in my parents' garage. I set up a treadmill in my parents' garage, and I just did a lot of biking and running. And then I joined a local gym and went swimming a bunch, and was now seeking. I was in the predicament of I had to find another job, and I struggled again finding a job. So eventually, what I wound up doing was to make ends meet. I worked as a prep cook at a fast casual restaurant in the Roaring Fork Valley in Basalt, Colorado, rolling ground beef and turkey into burgers. And so that's how I made ends meet for a couple of years. My first couple of years living in Colorado, And all the while I was still training, I was biking, I was running, I signed up for a handful of races, and well, apparently I was getting faster. And I was posting all the crazy stuff that I was doing all over social media. And funny thing about social media is that if you post enough and you do crazy enough stuff, people start to notice. And so there were a handful of companies that reached out to me and said, "Hey, will you keep doing what you're doing, but we'll pay you?" Sure. Sure, I'll do that. So that's when I made the move into the realm of professional, and I use that term very loosely, professional triathlete, professional athlete. And I decided that if I was gonna pursue this being an athlete thing, I needed to go all in. So I hired a triathlon coach, and I signed up for some crazy races. Qualified for the Boston Marathon, ran the Boston Marathon in 2017 and 2018. Wound up going to some talent identification camps that USA Triathlon had put on in 2018, and apparently caught the eye of a couple of coaches, and was persuaded, coerced, threatened that I needed to get on what was called the World Triathlon Racing Circuit. And so I dipped my toe into that racing circuit and wound up taking 4th place in my very first race. And again, here I am thinking, man, I'm hot stuff. I took 4th in my very first race. This is great. Again, just loaded my plate up with all kinds of crazy stuff. In 2018, after the Boston Marathon, after my first World Triathlon race, I joined up with a handful of other blind and visually impaired individuals that put together this team called Team C.H.A.T. I've been part of too many teams these days. But Team C.H.A.T, and it was a group of blind and visually impaired cyclists that we competed in what's called the Race Across America. And it's a bike race that goes from Oceanside, California, so way over here on the left side of the US, and the finish line is way over here at the Atlantic Ocean in Annapolis, Maryland. So we start at the Pacific Ocean. It's tradition that you dip your back wheel, the back wheel of your bike in the Pacific Ocean, and then you ride all the way across the country, and then you dip your front wheel in the Atlantic Ocean. And no team of blind and visually impaired people had ever even attempted this race. And since we were racing as a team, we had to finish the race in under 9 days. So we had to spend a lot of time on our bikes. My butt got very sore. Let me just say that. And along the way, we encountered all kinds of craziness. We encountered hailstorms, windstorms, thunderstorms, pouring down rain. I had, I think, 2 or 3 bike crashes myself, and one of those crashes, the guy who was riding with me on the front of my tandem bike, he and I crashed, and I broke my elbow. And then wound up biking the rest of the way across the country, one-armed. Basically, put a compression sleeve on my elbow and just gritted my teeth and sucked it up until I got to the Atlantic Ocean, and then eventually got in to get it x-rayed, and the doc was like, "You're an idiot." Thanks, didn't know that. But then I went on, after my elbow healed, I got right back in the pool, started swimming again, training for triathlon, because I had a really big goal at the end of 2018, and that was another Ironman. This was going to be my 3rd Ironman at this point, and I wanted to become the fastest totally blind person to ever complete an Ironman. And my first Ironman I had done in just under 16 hours. My second Ironman in 2017 I did in just under 12 hours. And at the time, the fastest time for a totally blind person to do an Ironman was just over 11 hours. I think it was like 11 hours and 3 minutes. And so I had this goal of going under 11 hours. And I got teamed up with this guy who's from Scotland, and just had this really thick Scottish accent. He basically cracked the whip on me and told me that if I really wanted to do an Ironman in under 11 hours, I needed to get my butt in gear, and I needed to get my butt in shape, and I needed to commit to the pursuit of this goal. And I needed to believe in myself and believe that I could do it. And so my buddy Alan Green and I snuck under 11 hours at Ironman Arizona at the end of 2018, and then here I am again. Now I'm here I am now. I've stood atop the continent of Africa. I've been a wrestler. I've been speaking, been standing on stages around the world, speaking to organizations. I'm a sponsored professional athlete. I'm now the fastest person who's totally blind over the Ironman distance. Again, what do you do next? And for me, the obvious next step was just get faster, get better at triathlon, chase that illusion of the perfect athlete. And obviously, what a lot of people consider the pinnacle of the sporting world is the Olympic and Paralympic Games. And it just so happened that blind and visually impaired triathlon had just been added to the Paralympic program for 2020. And so I got the opportunity, because I had attended some talent identification camps with USA Triathlon. They reached out to me and they said, hey, we're opening up spots at the Olympic and Paralympic Training Center. We think you're a good candidate to apply to live here and train here, and basically invest all of your time into triathlon. And so I applied, was accepted, moved to Colorado Springs at the beginning of 2019, and have been pursuing triathlon full-time ever since. And I have a phenomenal team around me, ranging from my coach to my training partners to my fellow paratriathlon Paralympic teammates, to my sports medicine support staff, my physical therapists, my physiologist, my dietitian. Everyone at the training center is this massive community, and there's a lot of things that allow us to be successful in life. I think having that spark of inspiration, for me, Eric Weinmeier was that guy that inspired me, and to live my life fully and have as few limitations as possible. For Tom Coughlin, it was Jay McGillis, who provided the inspiration to launch the J Fund. For each one of you, kids and adults in here that have gone through treatment, you are the inspiration and the motivation that keeps the J Fund and Nemours and Wolfson's going, and being able to put on programs like this. Again, we all need those little bursts and spikes of inspiration and motivation, and we need a vision. We need goals and things to strive for. I don't know if the J Fund had ever envisioned something along these lines 25 years ago, but visions evolve, and now we're all here together in this room because of the vision and because of inspiration and motivation, and because of the belief in ourselves and the people around us. And most people, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you a little secret to success, and because it's a secret, I should probably whisper it. So, most people fail. to get their desired level of success in life because they don't believe it's possible. Shh, don't tell anyone. Seriously, guys, belief is such a big thing. If you truly believe in your heart of hearts that you can be successful, whether that's getting an A on a report card in school, whether it is going out and completing a triathlon, completing a 1 mile run, completing an Ironman, going to the Paralympic Games, beating cancer, finding a family, community. If you believe in it, that is a huge step forward in success. And so all of these ingredients, inspiration, motivation, vision, belief, all of these are this formula that allows us to be successful. And something that my triathlon coach taught me over the last 4 or 5 years was that there's really no difference between an elite athlete at the gold medalist at the Olympic or Paralympic Games and the beginner triathlete or the person who is taking their first steps on their fitness journey or anything along those lines, or any journey. The difference between the gold medalist and the beginner is that the gold medalist understands that you gotta keep it stupid simple. And then once you identify the simple side of things, you just gotta do those simple things really, really well. And then you do the simple things a little bit better. And that's all you gotta do. Day in, day out, over and over and over again. Inspiration, motivation, belief, keeping it stupid simple, doing simple things well, doing simple things a little bit better. So if you're gonna take anything away from my talk tonight, please keep that in mind. We can't do it alone. You guys have an incredible support system here amongst your peers, amongst your child life specialists, your former child life specialists, through the J Fund, Nemours, Wolfson's, myself. We're all here. We're all part of a family, a part of a community. And one of my big inspirations in life is a lady named Helen Keller. And she said something pretty simple. Alone, we can do so little, but together we can do so much. And I think that at the end of the day sums up life pretty well. All the times that I tried and failed, all the times that I was a failure, whether it was failing to find a job after college, failing to get good grades in school, failing to get on the podium at any specific race at the World Triathlon level. It was because I became selfish, and it was because I lost sight of that vision, that belief. I tried to overcomplicate things, and when I stepped back and I realized the team that I had around me was world class, from my closest friends to to everyone in my network. You can draw so much strength and do so much greatness. And I think every single one of us here is proof of that. Whether you just turned 13 years old today, like Zion, or whether you've been leading the Tom Coughlin Jay Fund, or you've been leading at Nemours and Wolfson's for years. Every single one of us here is a product of the person to our left, to our right, in front of us, behind us. We are the product of the people that we surround ourselves with. So keep an eye on your vision, know what you want in life, embrace the people around you, make things a little bit better, believe in yourself and believe in the team and the people around you. You guys are gonna go on to do amazing things. Whether that be the Paralympic Games or something way bigger and way cooler, like launching Live for Today, launching the J Fund, and expanding programs. Opening up a new floor for the oncology department at Nemours. Hey guys, this is what I have done is pales in comparison to what everyone here is accomplishing today and is going to accomplish in the future. So I just want to say thank you all so much for listening to me ramble, for allowing me to come up and share a little bit of my story. I hope that you take a few nuggets away from here, and I can't wait to see every single one of you in this room eclipse me and make me look just like a silly, foolish person. So thank you all, and if we have time, I would love to answer any questions you guys have. And if you really want to get nitty gritty and get into some dirty details of my life and some stories of my adventures, I believe we have the J Fund was very gracious enough to buy to bring all of my get each one of you a copy of my book. So you're all going to be going home with a copy of my book tonight. So bedtime reading, or summer reading for those that are still in school. So thank you guys very much.
I do want to reiterate, because I know sometimes parents come in and sneak some of you out of here. Please take a copy of Kyle's book before you leave, so they're there at the back table. But while we do still have time, does anybody have any questions for Kyle?
Please, I'm a dartboard. Hit me. Can we still play darts these days? Anything at all?
I'll ask because I know the answer, but I want to hear it out loud. So, give us a flavor of one of those nationally televised shows that you were on. And I'm thinking of the one that was a very famous moment.
Yeah. So in 2004, 2003, I can't even remember. It was about 20 years ago. I was a very high-pitched voice. I was a surprise guest to my buddy Eric Weinmeier on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So got to sit on that famous Oprah Winfrey couch with my good buddy Eric Weinmeier after he had successfully completed his goal of climbing the tallest peak on each continent, including Mount Everest. So that particular show had a theme of people that you have impacted that you don't necessarily realize. So it was a show geared around inspiration and how inspiration plays such a vital role in each of our lives. So I was very lucky to get to surprise Eric on that show, and that appearing on that show led me to get into the public speaking, motivational and inspirational speaking that I do as well.
I have a question. You, having dabbled in triathlon like yourself at a much not so successful level, is there anything that you use at those deepest kind of darkest moments as like a mantra to help get you through the 25 miles of walking, which I know you now run.
I do run it. Oh man. So today I primarily focus on sprint triathlon, but and sprint triathlon is it's a 750 meter swim, 20K bike, and 5K run. So much shorter than an Ironman. A 1 hour race is a very different mentality than an 11 or 12 or 16 hour race. But my mantra is, depends on how tired I am, I guess. It depends on how much I'm hurting. It can be anything from suck it up, you're not hurting that much, to just get through to, but like I said near the end there, it's the mantra that I tend to go to is keep it stupid simple, and keep it stupid simple. Do simple well, do simple better. There may be a few expletives mixed in there when I'm trying to run at a 5:30 per mile pace at the end of a sprint triathlon. But a lot of it boils down to just do it. Just do the simple things well. Everyone else out here is hurting. You know how to hurt more than anyone else. And having, as each one of you knows, cancer treatment, it hardens you. Whether you go through it personally or you witness someone going through it, and you're right there alongside them, man, it hardens you and it toughens you up. And so I still draw on those long nights in the hospital. Those nights just toughen me up. For triathlon is easy. It's easy compared to chemo. Personally, I think it is. So those are the kind of things that I tend to think about if I can think at all when I'm racing.
I have one more for you, because we talked about it last time.
Yeah.
In one word, where do you rank in the U.S. for Paralympian athletes?
You're trying to make me important or something. No, right now I'm currently ranked number 3 in the world for in the blind and impaired triathlon field. And I'm currently the top U.S. male. It's been a long, hard road, and the racing season for me will kick off in July. So it's a long, hard, very rewarding, road. Very fortunate to get to represent my country at the level that I do. Very fortunate that I get to do as a profession what a lot of people do as a hobby. So I get to play every day. I get to swim, bike, and run for fun every day, and I get to call it my job. So I'm really lucky. I count my blessings every day.
He's way too humble. He had shoulder surgery 2 months ago, and the reason he's in third is because he hasn't been able to compete. He had shoulder surgery. It was first, because it's absolute stud.
I'll bring you around more often.
Do you have any recommendations for young adults, for all of us who've gone through cancer, like at sort of those low points where you were able to kind of take a moment of being down or feeling unmotivated or whatever it is, sort of that shift in mindset that has allowed you to be so successful? Like, I think a lot of us experience those sort of low mental health points.
For sure. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. I don't sugarcoat things. I love sugar, but when it comes to life, I'm gonna be straight with you guys. There's going to be low points. There's going to be a lot of low points. I still get low points, and what I have found that helps me is I give myself a little bit of time to wallow. I give myself a little bit of time to feel sorry for myself and to rage and be frustrated and angry and be disappointed. And then what I do is like I go back, I go through my, I pull up the list of contacts on my phone, or I scroll through social media, and I try to find the people that inspire me, people that push me to be better. And I'll go to, if I need to, I'll call up a friend who will tell me not what I want to hear, but what I need to hear. And that can be a fellow triathlete, a fellow cancer survivor, a fellow person who is blind, vision impaired. I lean really heavily on my network and the team of people around me. I grew up. My dad was in the Marine Corps. My dad grew up kicking our butts, and so sometimes you need a buddy or a friend or someone that's going to help you pick yourself up and get back on track. If you get, and you're going to get sidetracked. But if you have that rock solid foundation of people around you, it makes life so much easier. To a certain extent, life is not easy. Life is hard, but the people that we surround ourselves with, the goals that we set for ourselves, the challenges that we embrace along the way, those things do make us better, and it makes life really well worth living. We've all experienced the joy that a child life specialist can bring to our lives when we're feeling down. We've all experienced the joy of a friend pumping us up. We've all enjoyed, enjoyed is the right word, someone telling us to snap out of it and get back to living. That usually tends to see that usually is what sticks for me is. But yeah, no, it's I think keep an eye on your vision, surround yourself with the right people. I think it sounds simple and it sounds easy. And at the end of the day, it kind of is, but that's the secret. I mean, that really is the secret is, if you have that team of people around you, it's really special. And you can share some pretty amazing experiences with people. And like I said, we've got that here in this room tonight. I guarantee you, if any of you feel down or doubt or anything like that, then every single person in this room has felt that before. So you know that you can reach out to anyone in this room, anyone, whether we're guests of yours tonight or whether you guys meet up on a regular basis or know each other. Every single one of us has been through times of doubt, and that's why groups like this are so important and so impactful, because like I said, when we try to do it alone, man, that burden is really heavy. If you've ever tried to pick up something super heavy, like a couch or a piece of heavy furniture, really hard to pick that thing up on your own. But if you get one person, if you get 2 people, if you get 3 people to help you out, the burden becomes a lot lighter. So don't be afraid to lean into your people. Is the short answer. The short answer.
I've got a quick story to sum up here. Back when Kyle was like 7, and he was Boggy Creek. Anybody who knows me, I really like to be right on certain things. When his mom signed him up for Boggy Creek, and I saw him get off that bus, my heart just stopped. I thought, how is this blind kid going to make it on Boggy Creek? We got off the bus, and I think he took off his shoes, but I remember Kyle patting your feet like on the paved road, and then you went over to pat your feet on the grass, so you were just getting your bearings. And I watched you all week, and I thought, you know what, this is going to be okay. It's going to be some hills and some valleys, some good times and bad times, but I knew you were going to be okay, and I watched you all week. And look at there, Johnny's right.
That is one thing I can say. I can say for certain. Jolly certainly is right. You know, there's certainly going to be, you know, and look, guys, I'm the first to say there's still a lot more. There's a lot more peaks to come in my life. There's a lot more valleys as well, and there's a lot more holes in those valleys, and there's a lot of cold rivers that I gotta swim across. There's a lot of rocks that I gotta carry, and stuff still to come. But you know, at the end of the day, it is, you know, we're all gonna be all right. It's because of the people that are around us that believe in us, that allow us to believe in ourselves. So, Jolly, you were right.
Love it!
You know, I remember, so I didn't realize that this is Caitlin talking again with Live for Today, but like I mentioned, I went to Camp Boggy Creek as well, and you're just a couple years younger than I am, so of course we weren't in, you know, I'm never in the same cabin unit or whatever it was, but I remember, now that you're here tonight, I remember you from camp, and I just remember you being a vibrant little boy that was so excited to be there with all the friends. And you know, I remember looking at you and being like, man, my struggles are like nowhere compared to what this child has been through. So to be able to come here tonight and you be, you know, this amazing inspirational man that has done all these incredible things is really, really inspiring to me, and I'm sure everybody here in my group. And I just hope it goes to show you guys that like cancer doesn't stop you, and like we will continue to live and grow and evolve into wonderful human beings, and we all are, and we're already all warriors. So thank you so much, Kyle, for coming tonight, and
thank you.
And thank you, Jay Fund, for including us, and Chat for including us. It's been really inspiring. But I mean, since the first time I went to Boggy Creek was I was 12, so you've been inspiring me since I was 12, and I'm 35 now. So thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you know, when you mentioned Boggy Creek earlier, I was just so many great memories from there, and you know, that was a camp that that also helped me learn how to, you know, be involved with people, how to grow my network and grow my tribe, and that's an amazing place, and you know, the J Fund family, Nemours and Wilson's families, you know, you guys work all. It's my honor to, be up here speaking to you guys tonight. But you guys are all the real warriors, and the ones that keep me going. And I guarantee you that each one of these child life specialists, Dr. Bradfield, Kelly, all of these people that help put stuff like this together, it's all for you, and they get way more out of it we all get way more out of it than we put in at the end of the day. And so guys, continue to believe in yourselves, continue to foster the friendships and the partnerships that you're developing here tonight and in future. So thank you all, and like I said, if you guys want to connect with me outside of here, I'm pretty active on social media. So you please, I know everyone's been hiding their phones under the table or whatnot. Yeah, so you feel free to jump on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the platforms. I'm not on TikTok. My dance moves are horrible, so be no TikTok videos for me. But I'm on all of the platforms, so feel free to reach out. You can sign up for my newsletter. I like to send out updates of my racing, my travels, and all that. And also, you can also check out my podcast as well, where I talk with people who inspire me and who help keep me motivated and who help me keep an eye on my vision. So I get to, through my podcast, I get to introduce all of you to the people that have helped shape me into the person that I am today. So thank you all so much for your time.